Well, and it's so funny because it's like, it doesn't mean just because you work out well doesn't mean you can play. The combine to me should be like the haze in the barn. I mean, you're already you've already decided who you like and who you don't like. And to me, the combine's real value is more about the medicals and the interviews,
And the
which
interview.
we don't get a chance. We're not privy to the medicals and we're not privy to the interviews. But I think those are the highlights of the combine. And then other than that, it's nice to see these guys against a constant backdrop and see, how they measure out and everything. It's interesting. But once again, I think the Ravens do the personnel thing as well as anybody. Why? Because Ozzie Newsome has a philosophy and he's passed it to Eric DeCosta. And that philosophy is don't get caught up in the combine and just, draft great college football players and then hope they transition to the NFL. And that's what they do.
To me, it's about the film. Just straight up. If you didn't put it on the film collegiately, you're certainly not going to do it at the next level. And no matter what
you may, but don't, I agree with you. Don't for every one guy who sucked in college and then put up an awesome combine, I'd rather lose out on that guy than, start pretending that college football games didn't matter.
Yeah. I just think that there is merit to the combine for sure. And measurables are important. But again, are we tracking things because we can, or are we tracking things because they're important? And it's almost like we have too much information and that cloudies the judgment. Go to the game film. If the guy's making a lot of tackles, you should probably draft him over the guy who might be 0.2 of a second faster in a 40, but doesn't make a lot of tackles, So that's the way I feel about the whole thing. It is a player's evaluation is the entire wrapping paper of the Christmas present, right? The combine is just the bow on top. It's the last impression that the player can make on teams that are candidates who are interested in that player, either through impressive physical workouts, a great interview, or just, I don't know. It's amazing. The decisions to draft guys at the combine come from like happenstance conversations more than they even come from the formal interviews. It's just being around the NFL and that level of media attention reveals an awful lot about a player's ability to handle the white hot microscope that comes with being drafted to an NFL team. So,
I mean, look at it too. Look at it. The combine, Brock Purdy went there and nobody noticed.
Who?
But Zach Wilson rolled to his left and threw with his right arm a dime down the field, and he became the second pick in the draft. So the images are valuable, but just remember, and I'll talk more about it because I've got a point to make later on the combine. But it's, to me, it's like, if you do know that a guy was a great college football player, right? To me, it just cements things. So I'm looking for the great college football player who's also great at the combine. So that's the intersection that I want. I'm not looking for guys who couldn't play who are great at the combine. But if you were great in college football and then you go to the combine and light it up, that just cements your spot on my board. You know what I mean? That's, to me, because that's what the NFL is. The NFL is about next level athletes. And there's guys who are good in college football that aren't good enough athletes to be great in the NFL. If you can find the great college football player who goes to Indy and has a great workout, draft that guy. When you can wed collegiate production with elite athleticism, that's when you draft those guys. That's what you're looking for. That is like Aldon Smith was a perfect example. He was great at Missouri, very, very productive, went to the combine, looked awesome. Draft him. Now, obviously he had problems off the field and it derailed his career. So maybe the interviews at the combine maybe should have been looked at closer there. But if you can find a great player who's also a great athlete, man, that's who you want to draft.